Right now, somewhere in the world, a man is sitting next to a woman who just asked him a question. A simple, innocent-sounding question. And he answered it casually, maybe even brushed it off. What he doesn't know is that she just told him everything. She just handed him the key to her desire on a silver platter wrapped in the most ordinary words you could think of, and he missed it completely. That man might be you. And after today, that will never happen again. Here's a truth that will probably sting a little. Women almost never say what they actually mean when it comes to intimacy. I know. I know because I am one, and I can tell you from personal experience and from years of studying how women communicate that the way we signal desire is nothing like what most men expect. There is no neon sign. There is no dramatic confession. There is no movie scene where the music swells and she throws herself into your arms. What actually happens is so subtle, so effortless, that it slips right past most men like a whisper during a thunderstorm. A study published in the journal Communication Monographs found that women use indirect speech patterns nearly 70% more often than men when communicating about emotionally vulnerable topics. 70%. That means when a woman wants something intimate, something personal, something that makes her feel exposed, she is almost certainly not going to say it directly. She is going to code it. She is going to dress it up in the most harmless-looking language possible. And if you are not paying attention, you will respond to the surface, meaning the real message underneath. Now, here's the part that makes this video different from anything else you have watched. I am not going to give you a list of 20 vague signs. I am not going to tell you to watch her body language or read her energy. I am going to tell you the exact 2 questions she will ask you when she wants intimacy. 2. That is it. And once you hear them, you will never unhear them. You will start recognizing these questions everywhere in your past relationships, in your current one, in conversations you had years ago that suddenly make a lot more sense. But before I reveal them, you need to understand something crucial first. You need to understand why she asks questions at all instead of just telling you what she wants. Because that context is going to change the way you hear every single thing a woman says to you for the rest of your life. Let me break something down for you that most people never think about. From the time a girl is about 5 or 6 years old, she begins learning a very specific social rule. That rule, whether it is taught directly or absorbed through culture, goes something like this. Do not be too forward. Do not be too aggressive. Do not make the first move. Be approachable, but not desperate. Be interested, but not obvious. Sound exhausting? It is, but this is the reality of how most women are socialized around the world. Dr. Deborah Tannen, a linguistics professor at Georgetown University, spent decades studying how men and women communicate differently. One of her most famous findings was that women tend to use what she calls rapport talk. That means women communicate to build connection, to test emotional safety, and to gauge how the other person feels before revealing how they feel. Men, on the other hand, tend to use report talk, which is more about exchanging facts and solving problems. So, when a woman asks you a question, she is usually not looking for a factual answer. She is checking the temperature of the room. She is testing whether it is safe to go further. This is why so many men feel blindsided when a woman suddenly pulls away or loses interest. He thought everything was fine. She was smiling. She was laughing. She even asked him a couple of sweet questions. But from her perspective, she put herself out there, asked the 2 most vulnerable questions she could think of, and he treated them like small talk. He gave her a 1-word answer and went back to scrolling his phone. And in that moment, without saying another word, she closed the door. Now that you understand the framework, the operating system behind how she communicates, it is time to talk about the first question. And honestly, when I tell you what it is, your jaw might actually drop at how simple it sounds. The first question a woman will ask you when she wants intimacy is this: what are you thinking right now? I know. I know what you are thinking. That is it. That is the big secret. She asked me what I'm thinking. Yes. And the reason you are underwhelmed is the exact reason men keep missing it, because it sounds like nothing. It sounds like idle curiosity. But let me explain what is actually happening inside her mind when she asks you this. When a woman asks what you are thinking, she is not making conversation. She is making an attempt to enter your inner world. She is asking for access. Think about that for a second. She is essentially saying, I want to know what is happening inside your head right now, in this very moment, because I want to feel closer to you than I currently do. That is not small talk. That is emotional pursuit. Dr. John Gottman, one of the most respected relationship researchers in modern psychology, calls these moments emotional bids. An emotional bid is any attempt one person makes to connect with another person. It could be a touch, a look, a comment, or yes, a question. Gottman's research at the University of Washington found that couples who recognized and responded to each other's emotional bids stayed together at a rate of 86%. Couples who missed or dismissed those bids, they broke up at a rate of 69%, 86 versus 69. That gap is not small. That gap is the difference between a relationship that lasts and one that quietly dies in a living room while both people wonder what went wrong. So, when she asks you, "What are you thinking right now?" she is making a bid. She is reaching for you. And how you respond determines everything that happens next. If you say nothing, or I don't know, or something dismissive, she receives that as a rejection, not a dramatic, door-slamming rejection. A quiet one. The kind that builds up over time like sediment until one day the river does not flow anymore. But here's the part that connects directly to intimacy. For most women, emotional closeness is the prerequisite for physical closeness. This is not a stereotype. This is neuroscience. Research published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that women's sexual desire is significantly more responsive to emotional context than men's, meaning a woman's body does not just respond to physical attraction. It responds to emotional safety, to feeling seen, to feeling valued, to feeling like her inner world matters to the person she is with. And when she asks what you are thinking, she is checking all of those boxes at once. She is saying, "Do you trust me enough to be vulnerable? Are you present with me right now? Do you see this moment the way I see it?" And if your answer tells her yes, something shifts. Not visibly, not dramatically, but internally. A wall comes down. A door opens. She moves one giant step closer to wanting you, not just emotionally, but physically. So, the next time a woman looks at you and asks, "What are you thinking right now?" do not shrug. Do not dodge. Do not make a joke to deflect. Look at her. Be honest. Even if what you are thinking about is silly or random, because what she is really asking is not about the content of your thoughts. She is asking if you will let her in. But this is only the first half of the puzzle. Because even after she asks this question and you respond, well, she has one more question she needs to ask before she fully opens up. And the second question, this one is even sneakier than the first because it does not sound romantic. It does not sound emotional. It sounds like the most casual throwaway line in the history of human conversation. And that is exactly why almost every man on earth gets it wrong. The second question she will ask you when she wants intimacy is this: "Are you tired?" Go ahead. Laugh. Roll your eyes. Think it is too simple. But I promise you, by the time I finish explaining this, you are going to replay at least 3 memories in your head where a woman asked you this exact question, and you completely blew it. Are you tired? Is one of the most brilliantly disguised questions in all of human communication. On the surface, it sounds like concern. It sounds like she is being thoughtful, checking in on you, making sure you are okay. And sure, sometimes that is all it is. But in certain moments, in certain context, especially late at night, after a date, after a long conversation, after a moment of closeness. This question is not about sleep. It is about permission. What she is really asking is, are you available? Do you have energy for me tonight? Are you going to roll over and go to sleep? Or is something else going to happen? And she phrases it this way for a reason. She phrases it as a yes or no question about fatigue because it gives her plausible deniability. If you say, yeah, I am exhausted, she can nod and say, okay, good night. And no one gets embarrassed, no one gets rejected, the moment passes without any awkwardness. But if you say, no, I am not tired at all, she now has the green light to take the next step, to move closer, to touch your arm, to suggest something, to create the kind of moment she has been building toward all evening. This is the brilliance of female communication, and honestly, men should be taking notes. She manages to ask one of the most loaded questions possible while leaving herself a perfectly safe exit. That is emotional intelligence operating at a very high level. Let me give you a scenario to make this crystal clear. You have been on a great date, dinner, conversation, laughter. You walk her to her door, or you are sitting on the couch at one of your places. The energy has been building all night. She has been leaning into you, making eye contact, finding reasons to touch your hand. And then, in a quiet voice, she asks, "Are you tired?" If you say, "Yeah, kind of," she will smile and say, "Okay, well, I had a great night." And she will mean it. But she will also be disappointed in a way she will never tell you about because she gave you the signal. She opened the window and you closed it without even knowing it was open. Now compare that to this response. She asks, "Are you tired?" And you look at her with a slight smile and say, "Not even a little." Something changes in her eyes. You might not even notice it consciously, but she just received confirmation that the next chapter of the evening is possible. You did not pressure her. You did not make a move she was not ready for. You simply told her that you are present. You are available, and the night does not have to end yet. And for a woman, that answer is everything. A survey conducted by the Kinsey Institute found that for women in romantic relationships, the most commonly reported barrier to intimacy was not lack of attraction. It was feeling disconnected or sensing that their partner was emotionally or physically unavailable. Let that land for a second. Let that land, for she is not avoiding intimacy because she does not want you. She is avoiding it because she is not sure you want her in that moment. And are you tired? Is her way of finding out without putting herself at risk? This is also why the timing of this question matters so much. She will almost never ask it in the middle of the afternoon while you are doing dishes. She asks it at night. She asks it when the two of you are alone. She asks it during a moment that already feels charged. If you start paying attention to when she drops this question, you will begin to see the pattern. It always comes right before a window of opportunity, right before the moment where the night could go one of two ways. Now, here is the part that makes this knowledge truly urgent. When a woman asks both of these questions and you miss them, something happens that is very difficult to reverse. She does not get angry. She does not argue. She does not give you a lecture about emotional availability. She simply files that information away. She categorizes you, and the category she puts you in is not cruel or unfair. It is protective. She labels you as someone who is not tuned into her, someone who is not paying attention, and once that label is applied, she starts to close off slowly, gradually, in ways you will not even notice until one day she seems distant, and you have no idea why. Dr. Sue Johnson, the creator of emotionally focused therapy, has written extensively about this pattern. She calls it the protest withdrawal cycle. One partner reaches out emotionally. The other partner does not respond. And over time, the reaching partner stops reaching. Not because they stopped caring, because they got tired of being missed. And for women, These two questions, what are you thinking? And are you tired? Are often the last emotional bids they make before they begin to withdraw. They are the final test, the last checkpoint before she decides whether this person is safe enough to be intimate with. So, if you have ever been in a situation where everything seemed fine and then suddenly she was cold or distant, go back in your memory. Think about the conversations you had in the days before the shift. I am willing to bet she asked you one or both of these questions. And I am willing to bet your response was something forgettable. So, now that you know the questions, the obvious next step is knowing how to respond when you hear them. And honestly, the answer is simpler than you think. When she asks, "What are you thinking right now?" give her something real. It does not have to be profound. It does not have to be poetic. You could say, "I was just thinking about how good this feels sitting here with you." Or, "Honestly, I was thinking about something random, but now I am thinking about you." What matters is not the content. What matters is that you showed up. You gave her something instead of nothing. You opened the door she was knocking on when she asks, "Are you tired?" And you sense that the moment is right. Say no. Say it with warmth. Say it like you mean it. You do not need a smooth line. You do not need a movie-quality response. You just need to communicate one thing. I am here. I am present. And I am not going anywhere tonight unless you want me to. That is it. That is the whole formula. Be present when she asks the first question. Be available when she asks the second. Those two responses given at the right moments will do more for your connection with her than any grand romantic gesture ever could. Here is something I want to leave you with. Women are not mysterious. We are not impossible to read. We are not playing games or speaking in riddles for fun. We communicate the way we do because we have been taught that vulnerability is risky and rejection is painful. And the safest way to reach for someone is to do it with words that do not cost too much if they are not returned. These two questions, "What are you thinking right now?" and "Are you tired?" are not random. They are calculated. They are intentional. They are the result of a woman deciding that she trusts you enough to let you in, but she needs to know if you are ready before she takes that final step. And now that you know this, you have a responsibility not to manipulate, not to game the system, but to pay attention, to listen with more than your ears, to hear what she is really saying underneath the words she chooses. Because when a woman asks you these questions, and you respond with presence, with warmth, with genuine attention, you are not just answering a question. You are telling her that she is safe. And for a woman, safety is the foundation of everything. Now, if what you just learned shifted something in the way you think about female communication, do me a favor. Do not just click away. Leave a comment below with the word signal. Just that one word. I want to see how many of you actually made it to this point and absorbed what was shared here today, because the people who comment are the ones who internalize information. And internalizing this is the difference between knowing it and living it. And one more thing before you go. You now know the two questions she asks when she wants intimacy. But questions are only one part of the equation. The other part, her body. Specifically, there are 3 places on her body that, if she allows you to touch, are a dead giveaway that she wants you. Not maybe, not kind of she wants you. And most men have no clue what those 3 places are, which means they are constantly second-guessing themselves when the answer is literally right in front of them. I made an entire video breaking this down called, "If She Lets You Touch These 3 Places, She Wants You." It is on your screen right now. Click it, because if you pair what you just learned today with what that video teaches you, you will never misread a woman's signals again. Go watch it now. Seriously.